Good early afternoon. We are live here at Wisdom Harbor Studios at the Wharf in Orange Beach, Alabama. I'm Andy Andrews, and you are joining us here on the Blue Plate Special. If this is your first time to be with us, welcome aboard. We're glad. Hey, buddy. Got a friend out here in the studio. There's a whole bunch of youngsters. Hey. How are y'all doing? Where are these guys from? Em, can you text us and tell us where? Yeah, okay. Anyway, glad you guys are here and they're wandering around out there. If you're here for the first time and you're on Facebook, click that notification button over there and turn on the notifications on your phone so that when we go live here, whatever we're doing, you will be notified. And also, if you're on YouTube, press that subscribe button. That would help us a lot. And let's see, Twitter, the Twitter team with Captain Brian Backen. We're glad you're here too. Okay, so this is Joe and Heather from Utah, and they're three boys. That is great. I mean, they're good-looking boys. You know, when you have one kid, you think we can do this again, but of course, you know, you're double teaming them, right? And then you get that second one and you go, wow, but you can handle them man to man. And now you got three of them and you're playing zone and it's hard to keep up, isn't it? Yeah, well, they look well behaved, so that's good. This is especially that one over there climbing the glass. Not really. Glad you guys are here with us. Chris Comer says, no fancy t-shirt today. Well, Chris, is this not fancy enough for you? I mean, this seems pretty fancy to me. But, you know, I am an older person, and it's fancy on the back. See, that's the thing. They don't make really great t-shirts. Not many people make great t-shirts for us to wear on the front. Because, you know, we're starting to do t-shirts. We've got t-shirts, and everybody says, look at there, see? Okay. Wait, okay. OsteoStrong, the ultimate biohack. Is that your company? Oh, wow. Okay. Today is Blue Plate Special, sponsored by OsteoStrong, your ultimate biohack. We're glad to have you guys here. And is that on the front or the back? It's on the front of your t-shirt. See? Okay, well, there you go. See, you know, little Gen Z over there, little M over there, little M. You know, she's 7 years old, and then my son back here, they're both Gen Zs, and they say, you know, hey, nobody puts stuff on the front anymore, and it's kind of true. But this shirt actually has some great stuff. This is from the J. Hardy Outdoor Collection. This is from $7 Lifestyles over here. But look at this. Look, huh? Can I see it? Yeah, you got it? Okay. Matt and I forgot to take a picture of it earlier. And I'll tell you why we forgot to take a picture of it. Because I was like out in there and he said, 10 seconds till the music starts. And I had to run. See this? Half of this is on my pants. Okay? I mean, half of it. And it's cold. And I was like out there dripping. And so I've got like a t-shirt. I'm wearing a t-shirt, but I also have one stuffed down the left leg of my pants. How about that? Just so I can sit here and not freeze and feel so uncomfortable. Hey, Julie Beth, how are you? So you found me through Brad Barton. Like through which part of him? I'm just curious. Anyway, Kim Petrucki, hey, how are you doing? In North Texas, Grace Alma Munoz, hey, how are you? Eddie Richardson, hello from Upper Alabama. Which Eddie Richardson are you? Cat Hooker, that's my favorite name. Cat Hooker. Dave and Sandy standing by in central Minnesota. You guys are freezing up there, aren't you? Okay. What part of Utah are you guys from? I know I can't hear you in here, so you could tell me, but it wouldn't. There's Diamond Rio again. Hey guys, how are y'all doing? And we're glad you're here. Utah is a favorite state of mine. Yeah. Do you guys like sushi? Just nod yes. You do? Are you near Salt Lake? You ever been to the Happy Sumo? Yeah. I mean, I love the Happy Sumo. I tell friends, I say, okay, going to Salt Lake, going to eat at Happy Sumo tonight. It's probably the only place in Salt Lake you can go to see a bunch of tattooed people. But, they're the Happy Sumo. You don't like sushi? Oh, wait. We're having a hard time communicating here.
They closed it.
They closed the Happy Sumo? Oh, my gosh. I can't believe that. I mean, that was a great place, and it was always packed. You always had to wait. Why would they close it? Just like an overload of tattoos or something, I guess. I don't know. I guess. But I really liked that place. That was like a favorite place of mine. So I guess I'll never come back to Utah. I will. If only to get my biohack. But the thing about the Happy Sumo is such a kind of an anachronism, because it's like, when you think of Utah, you think sushi. I mean, not really, but it's one of my favorite sushi places ever. Okay, hey, we got a lot to do today. We're going to talk about some of the ridiculousness of the English language. Again, there's just way too much of this to even talk about. Hey, Gene McDonald, how you doing? When are you coming down? We'd really like to have you on a podcast, Gene McDonald. Gene McDonald said we'll have to go to the shrimp basket. Well, the shrimp basket's here, Gene. They don't have the shrimp basket in Utah. Not sure if you've ever been to Utah, even though you could do some great stuff out at the Mormon Tabernacle. One of my buddies that just passed away, you can go on YouTube and see Rebecca Luker and the Mormon Tabernacle Choir singing. She did some stuff from Phantom on that. And so are these more Utah people? Okay. I can tell because they came in with a herd of kids. So, there's a rule that I tell new authors. They say, do you have any suggestions for me? I've got my first book out, and I say, yes, I have a suggestion for you. Never personalize your books in Utah. Never personalize. You can autograph them, but don't personalize them. Yeah, because you offer to personalize them, you'll be there forever. It's like, would you sign this to my kids? Sure. Okay, that's to Jason and Joseph and Jerry and Marianne and Martha. And it's like, oh my gosh. Somebody asked me the other day, what was the craziest thing? I hesitate to tell this guy. Surely this girl's not watching, though. Somebody asked me what was the craziest thing that happened to me, like signing books. And there's been some crazy things. And there's some things that happen over and over again, because people go, sometimes I go, who do you want me to sign it to? And they'll go, me. Okay. Is that a capital M? It's okay. What would your name be? But I was in Billings, Montana one time. I never will forget this. Polly always says, why do you ask people to spell their names? Because, if somebody says, my name's Terry, okay, spell that. But why do you ask? Because do you know how many different ways people spell their names? It's unbelievable. It's Terry, Terry, Terrie. I mean, it's all over. So, I don't want to sign anybody with the name that's wrong. So, but I was in Billings, Montana, and this young lady came up, and she was pushing a stroller, and it had this little baby in there. He was all dressed in blue, and so I guessed boy, and I was right. And she got a kid who changed the world and asked, she said, would you sign this for my baby? And I said, absolutely, I'd be glad to. And I said, tell me his name. And she said, it's... And I said, that's kind of what it sounded like to me. And I said, could you spell that for me? And honest to God, it was something like this. It was something like KYRZKRLMZQAN. And so I said, wow, that's amazing. That's an amazing name. She said, yes, it means a leader of people, bringer of water to nations. I said, awesome. Where'd you find that name? She said, we made it up. I guess if you make it up, you make up what it means too. But it was so bizarre that I said, man, what an incredible name. If you don't mind, would you spell that again? Let me just write this down because I want to take it. And I took it home to show Polly. I said, you know what that means? You know what that means? Bringer of water to nations, and it's pronounced. And I wish I still had that piece of paper, because that's just an amazing thing. All right. So who said that? Somebody's in Billings, Montana. Okay, Amy McKnight Bell. Okay, you saw us in Billings, Montana with Women of Faith. Awesome. That was one of the best 3 years of my life doing that with those ladies. I don't know if you've ever seen or been to a Women of Faith thing, but there's it was Amy Grant, Sandy Patty, Mandisa, Patsy Claremont, Lisa from Facts of Life, Lisa Welchel. It was Brenda Warner, Kurt Warner's wife, several other people, and 15,000 women and me. And people would go, well, what do you do? And I'm like, anything they tell me to do. Absolutely. Okay, let's get, I do want to say, before we get started with English language, I do want to say Happy Holy Thursday. Right? In the run-up to Easter Sunday, I don't know if you know this, but in the run-up to Easter Sunday, Holy Thursday is the day before Good Friday. Holy Thursday is the day we remember the Last Supper. Yesterday, of course, Christians around the world celebrated Tents Wednesday. But on Holy Thursday, I always think about the Last Supper. It's the anniversary of the Last Supper, and that's where we celebrate the Last Supper. And I always think about the Last Supper, which I guess is what we're supposed to do. And as a writer, though, this day really reminds me of how much I generally dislike editors, those people who see themselves as the final arbiters of what should and should not be included in a book. And I think the Bible is a perfect example of an editor going too far. Because yes, the red print indicates the specific words Jesus spoke, but surely those weren't the only words he spoke. I mean, for instance, wouldn't you think that at some point he said, excuse me, or pass the salt, please? Of course he did, but see, that didn't make the cut, or that got cut by an editor. So why then were those in many other phrases spoken by our Lord and Savior not included? I mean, seriously. I mean, you think about this. What editor assumed the authority to leave stuff out of the Bible because they felt qualified to edit Jesus? Can you imagine that? I mean, in reality, I don't really mind the fact that all the yes ma'ams were left out and all the where did I leave my sandals kind of things that Jesus said didn't make the final cut. But I do have to believe that there has been a historical injustice of immense proportions for some unknown, quite obviously arrogant editor to have omitted the very first commandment Jesus made at the Last Supper. And so this year I'm proposing that a plaque could be hung or a statue erected, or at the very least a proclamation could be issued by someone on this Holy Thursday, reminding people of the first instruction Jesus gave his disciples that evening in the upper room. I don't think it's too much to ask that in remembrance of him, we also remember that before he ever said, eat this bread or drink this wine, Jesus had already said, everybody who wants to be in the picture needs to sit on this side of the table. Okay, so now let's get to some English language. I was reading this interesting article in Allocation, and it was written by Ron Bergeron, who's a very cool writer. And so I was trying to remember one of the greatest jokes I've ever heard in my life. It's not a joke, it's material. It was done by a comedian. And Emo Phillips did it. And I always use this when I'm talking to friends about Emo. And I'm saying, I don't know if he's a genius or something's wrong with him, okay? Because he never comes out of character. And yet his material is just like genius stuff. And I always use this particular thing that he did to say, this is, think about how you have to think to even come up with this. He would say, and I'll do this in his voice. He'd say, my nephew had a birthday the other day, and I went and I said, Uncle Emo is going to give you, for your birthday, 3 wishes. And I grabbed him by the arm and I went, whoosh, whoosh, whoosh. And then I set him down and said, let that be a lesson to you on the dangers of homonyms. I mean, that's just pretty brilliant, And so I was looking at this article trying to figure out what are homonyms, trying to remember what are synonyms, homonyms. There's all these different kind of things. And I was getting some examples of them because I want you to think about this as we talk about this. Think about somebody that's come to our country that's trying to learn English. I mean, I remember trying to learn it in a classroom, and I grew up speaking some Southern form of it. Okay, but can you imagine somebody coming to our country and they're wanting to learn English? And it doesn't make any sense. Okay, so homonyms, and let me just show you what I mean. Homonyms are words that are spelled the same and pronounced the same, but they have different meanings. I mean, we grew up with it, so we usually know what is meant based on the context. But can you imagine the confusion of somebody just trying to learn the language for the first time? Here's just some examples of homonyms. A tire is that round thing on the car, or to tire is what happens to you if you stay awake too long. A bat can be this like flying rat thing, or a bat's what you use to hit a baseball. Change can mean to alter it, or it can mean the money that you get back after you buy something. A deck is what you shuffle with cards, or a deck is where you relax in the afternoon on a summer evening right there connected to your house. A groom is half of the pair at a wedding, or a groom is the person who keeps your horse brushed. How about this one? Gross means like kind of repulsive, or it's 12 dozen of something. How would you learn this? How would you learn this stuff here? Hail is ice falling from the sky, or it's the way to get a cab. And it's also the way that a lot of people from Alabama pronounce where you don't want to go. Like, well, hail. I mean, we hear that in Alabama a lot. Fall is what happens if you don't watch where you're going. And it's also autumn. Light can help you see in the dark, or it can be the opposite of heavy, or it can be the way to start your campfire. And so, well is a well. Well can be getting better after you're sick, or it can be the source of your drinking water. Bark is what a dog does, or it's the outer layer on a tree. Okay, so those are homonyms. Now, there are homophones. Phones, like a telephone. Homophones, all right? And these are words that have the same sound as another word, but they're spelled differently and have different meanings, all right? It's like two, and two. I'll give 2 of these to you too. There, and there. They're in there studying for their test. I'm seriously, I don't know how you'd learn this. Team and team. Each of the teams just teams with talent. Horse and horse. The horse trainer went hoarse, talking to his horse. Morning and morning. The new widow was still in shock, but she would be mourning by morning. Ads and ads. The savings from all the ads adds up over time. Baron and Baron. The Baron never had any children because his wife was barren. Sea and sea, S-E-E, S-E-A. We could all see the ship sinking into the sea. Coward and coward. C-O-W-A-R-D and C-O-W-E-R-E-D. Coward and coward. When the fight started, the coward cowered in the corner. Crews and crews. C-R-E-W-S and C-R-U-I-S-E. The crews on the cruise ships worked hard to make sure everyone enjoyed the cruise. Symbol and symbol. Symbol with an S, symbol with a C. The drum kits manufacturer had its symbol engraved on the symbol. All right, so now there are another things called homographs. Homographs. Did you know there were this many things?
No, I'd never heard of a homograph.
You probably only knew about homonyms and synonyms and couldn't keep them straight, right? That was me. Homographs are words that have the same spelling, but a different sound and a different meaning. All right, you ready for this? L-E-A-D. Okay, that means to go in front of, lead, or L-E-A-D. It's a heavy metal used in car batteries, lead. Lead and lead. Wind, W-I-N-D, is a gust of air, and wind, W-I-N-D, is what you do to a clock. Bass is the deep sound from your stereo, and bass, spelled the same way, is a fish. Sow is like a female pig, and sow, spelled the same way, is what farmers do with their seeds. Wound is an injury, W-O-U-N-D, and then wound, W-O-U-N-D, is what we just did at the clock a few minutes ago. A dove is a bird related to a pigeon, but dove is what you did at the pool last summer. Close is when you're nearby, but close is what you do to the freezer door. Now, get this one. I love this. M-I-N-U-T-E. A minute is 60 seconds, but something minute is very tiny. A record is a vinyl disc containing music, but record is what you do to make a record. Tear is what falls from your eyes, but tear means to rip it up. All right, now we're going to go one more weird layer here with English before we're through for the day. But I mean, I just cannot imagine not speaking English and then trying to learn this. I just can't imagine. But this is one of the weirdest things that we all are kind of aware of, and that is that English has a ton of negatives without positives. Okay? So think about this. Like in English, the prefixes in and un are used to mean the opposite of a base word. For example, insane is the opposite of sane, and unsatisfactory is the opposite of satisfactory. However, watch these examples, because these rules don't always apply. Inert means lacking any chemical reaction. But there's no positive to that. There's no word ert. that indicates, the opposite. Inhibit means to prevent or discourage from doing something, but there ain't no hibit. I mean, you can inhibit an action, but you can't hibit one. If something is inverted, it's upside down. But if something is right side up, it's not called verted. Have you ever met a disgruntled person? I have, but I never met anybody that I could call gruntled. You heard awkward people described as ungainly or inept. Have you ever heard anyone described as gainly or ept? Look at that athlete. He is so gainly, so ept as he runs the bases. And then here's the last one. Here's the last one I want to throw at you. There are words like this, like flammable and inflammable. And so you would expect that adding the in to flammable would produce the opposite. But in this case, flammable and inflammable mean exactly the same thing. I don't know how, I just, my hat's off to anybody who learns this stuff or learns the rules. I just don't even get it. So Mike Williams says we're going to have to pay tuition for this English class. I don't know. You willing to? I mean, if you're willing to. Cindy Gonzalez says, excellent reminder why semantics is fun to learn. And like phonics. Remember Hooked on Phonics? Hooked on Phonics. And you know the whole reasoning behind that. The whole thing. Spell it phonetically and sound it out phonetically. And is it ironic or weird or just what that the word phonetically is not spelled phonetically? I don't know. Linda Loper says names can be crazy. That's one show we ought to do is names. There is no way you're telling the truth about this. No way. Who said this? Who said this? This is Linda Loper? Come on. You knew a child named Oatmeal Raisin. Her real name was Oatmeal Raisin, and her parents called her Cookie. I don't believe that. Especially when she says, true story. I mean, what do you say when you're lying? True story. Come on now. Okay, I believe you. Because I don't think there's... I mean, what did Albert Einstein... my favorite Albert Einstein quote. I mean, there's a ton that he said, right? But my favorite Albert Einstein quote is, 2 things are certain in this life: the universe and the stupidity of people. And I'm not sure about the universe. That's what he said. But we got to do a show on names. There's got to be some names, and I'm not talking about the one that everybody says they knew somebody named Famali and, I mean, come on. I'm talking about some real stuff. I see Kevin Perkins on there, and your wife, Glenda, had an uncle and aunt named Hosey and Dashy. Is that true? I think that's true. Because we've talked about that and just how weird that is. But there's a lot. And Kevin said we also need to do song titles. I agree. Song titles, that would be good. Get in that. My favorite country music song title of all time was If I'd Have Shot You When I Wanted To, I'd Be Out of Jail by Now. Okay, no, Mike Williams. That ain't true. There's no way somebody's going to name their kid that. Mike Williams says, I work in the deli with a lady named Virginia Ham. There's just no way. Seriously, somebody's last name is Ham, and they're going to say, let's call her Virginia. Let's just doom her to be teased, in every class, in every school she goes to the rest of her life. Parents, you got to be cruel. You got to be cruel. I'm trying to think of what is Weirdest name. I've heard some weird ones. I've heard some that we can't say on the show. Sandra Mendonca said, your mom's dad? Your granddaddy was, is this the real name or is this like a nick? Because I have a hard time believing your granddad was really named Pink Green. Pink Green? Really? Yeah, surely that had to be a... Surely, I just don't like to think that about parents, to think that they're that cruel, even though I went to high school with some sisters. Their last name was Christmas, and Gina. Are you somehow related to these people? Went to high school, and their sisters. One was named Joy Carol Christmas. One was named Candy Christmas. And there was some other Christmas, I don't know what it was, but Kathy Goodwin, I knew of a girl named Rainbow Bubbles. Here's one. And I won't say her last name because she's from Alabama. And it's just like I won't say her last name. Who else is named Fairy? I'm not thinking that, oh God, if you told us her last name, we'd know exactly who she was. If anybody knows her, they know who she is. But I knew a girl years ago, and her real name that her parents gave her was Fairy, Fairy. And you know what? The thing is, I would look at her and I go, they lucked out. Okay. They kind of, because she was tiny, she was kind of bubbly, and she was perky, and she was beautiful. And so, that was lucky that worked out. Because, if she'd have been, some 6'4" with a monobrow, what's your name? Fairy. That wouldn't have worked. Bruce Yates knew a gentleman named Vivian and another one named Beverly. Deanna Ward Willis. I had an Aunt Fairy. Huh. That Beverly, and that reminds me of a show we could do too sometime, and that is a show, Dead Names. Names that are dead. Names that are no longer used. That'd be a good one, wouldn't it? Write that down, Matthew. I think that'd be a good. Dead names. Okay? Because when you think about it, you think there are some names that have been retired because they're just old school. Okay? There's not a lot of little Gladyses being born, not a lot of Ednas. I hadn't met an Emma Jean in a long time. I don't know that I've ever met an Agnes. So some of those names have been retired, okay? But then there are some names that are just not used anymore. They got stricken from the record, okay? In Germany, I'm sure, this is a country with 90 million people, but I bet you ain't nobody getting named Adolf when they're born. No, there ain't no Adolfs being born in Germany. And I'm sure there are Mansons around the United States, wouldn't you think? There's like a Sharon and Jonathan Manson, and they'll have children, but they ain't naming one Charlie, are they? So, who's this? Had a second cousin whose name, Barry Williams had a second cousin whose name was Melody Toon. Do you know, the Gaithers, Bill and Gloria Gaither, their son Benji, and I love her to death, but what are the odds that Bill and Gloria Gaither's son would marry a girl whose first name is Melody. I mean, that's just amazing to me. Bertha, that's gone. Jezebel, that one's gone. Dorcas, I have heard of a Dorcas. Judas, that one's gone. Judas is gone. Yeah, that's out. Judas. No little Judases around. All right, you guys, we're going to have to continue this another day. How about, let's say next Tuesday. And we're still waiting on a trade up. You guys, we need some help here. We're doing this for Youth Reach Gulf Coast. And these guys take care of young men who are in tough situations. And they don't get any government funding, and they don't charge the boys, and they don't charge the families. Okay, so this is an awesome mission that these people are on. So we're trying to help, and so we started January 1st by trading up. We traded a safety pin for 5 acorns, and then 5 acorns for a bottle of Code Blue, and it's gone all the way up. And Dr. Barb's, she traded to get a television, traded a 100-ounce silver bar. And then Jan, one of our buddies that we know, has now, Barb, we got to get the silver bar to Jan because she traded for it. And where we stand right now is a vacation. It's like an upper Mississippi family vacation, or 2 families, because it's a summer. You need to do a weekend or a midweek, and you have your own houseboat on the upper Mississippi going through the bluffs of Iowa, Wisconsin, Minnesota, and have a captain that'll secure you to whatever sandbar or cove you choose, and spend some days there and have a campfire, and air conditions right there. And but you can use this either this summer or next summer, 21 summer or 22 summer. And that's where we stand right now. The houseboat is a luxury houseboat. It sleeps 10. And so a couple of families could do this. But what do you have to trade? So come on, you guys. I mean, let's get creative. Think of something. And we need to trade out here. And so at the end of the year, whatever we end up with, we're going to auction it off and give the money to Youth Reach. So, but we need to get there. So right now, we got an awesome vacation. Who wants to trade? See you next week. Bye-bye.